Part 23. The Lord of Reincarnation. Author, Wen Xiaogong. Chapter 223. Good news. Congratulations, Master Ning Jibo, Ye won the 9th place in the Dingzhou Township examination in high school, and the Beijing News has been awarded the yellow armor. Outside the restaurant, the high-pitched voice of the messenger came, beating gongs and drums, with joy. Ningbo rewarded his face with sadness and joy, and prepared money to send people away. Congratulations to Brother Ning High School. Other fellow villagers or acquaintances came forward to congratulate, even if they were jealous, they suppressed it. The township exam is extremely difficult, and stepping past this step is equivalent to half an official body. In this era, it represents privilege and class. If nothing else, the great Zhou Taizha decided that he would have 200 mu of tax-free farmland, but the amount of farmland and tenant farmers that could actually be sheltered was far more than that. In the later period of the dynasty, this right would be even greater. After all, are scholars who govern the world? What is convenient with others is what is convenient with oneself. In addition, you can also go to the capital to take the Jinshi examination. Once you get the pass, you will get on the official train, but the sky will go straight. Even if you don't get hit and return to your hometown, you can fully guarantee a good life and not be bullied. You can even directly fill the official position, although it is lower. All in all, judging people in the exam is indeed jumping over the gantry, and it has been very different from then on. Ning Bosun was in a daze. For several days, he followed the same year in Zhongzhou to visit a teacher, and he had several banquets. On this day, when he was drunk, he returned to the inn and saw a fellow scholar packing his bags. Couldn't help asking, "Wang Zioki, are you leaving now?" "I didn't pass the exam, I was about to leave. The reason why I stayed for a few days was just an invitation from a friend to see that Fang Xiandao opened the mountain gate." Wang Zioki's eyebrows were a little gloomy. "Now my hometown is being attacked by bandits, my parents don't want me to go back, but as a son of man, how can I tolerate this?" Ning Boshang sighed, and stopped talking. Instead he comforted a few words. "I heard that the imperial court has sent His Royal Highness King Jin to come, and also brought the imperial court heavenly soldiers. The rebellion in the Mir district will be pacified soon. It is better to go to the immortal together tomorrow. On the mountain, relax. The next day, climb Xianshan. Fang Xiandao's mountain gate is wide open, and the towering buildings are continuous. Although it is newly built, it has a different charm. Autumn is full of beauty, and life is hidden, but there is a sense of Taoism. Guests from all over the world gathered, and among them was an ordinary-looking middle-aged man. He was dressed in a blue shirt and seemed to have a reputation as a scholar, but he was not very eye-catching. After all, a group of officials have come, and it is really nothing. Middle-aged people are also happy, walking around and watching at will. This person is the staff of the King of Jin, Mr. Zhou Zhou. King Jin was appointed. Although he was still on his way, it was his intention to send his confidants to inquire about the situation in Dingzhou. Zhou just showed his mind a little and was dispatched. Coincidentally, I caught up with the ceremony of Fang Xiandao's opening of the mountain gate, and naturally I won't miss it. I heard that this Fang Xiandao has annexed the Dao veins such as Baodan School and Tongsuangguan, and it really has a deep foundation. Maybe there is a hope for the Taoist door in the future? Zhou thought to himself, and saw a group of scholars walking by. The leader seemed to be a young Juran. What? This man? His eyes were bright, and he practiced the secret method of observing people. It seems to be a bit arrogant. Although he is still a leader, his future prospects are limitless. Do you want to introduce him to the prince? While thinking about it, I heard the morning bells and evening drums humming together on the top of the mountain. The auspicious time has come, open the mountain gate. Tung Heza stood in front of the mountain gate, and Quan greeted the guests and shouted with great vigor. The bells and drums vibrate. It seems to wash away the hustle and bustle of the world, making people enter a fairyland. This is. Jozu rubbed his eyes and looked at the roadside. I saw an unknown wildflower, blooming in an instant, and the autumn color of the mountains turned into spring in an instant. When the flowers bloom. In the legend, the magical power of the ancient immortals. Ningbo admired a wildflower, put it on the tip of his nose and sniffed it, only to feel the fragrance coming from his nostrils, and couldn't help but be stunned. The flower was so real and true that he couldn't help but be amazed. Grown-ups. On the mountain road, a tolerance couldn't help looking at his Shangguan, only to see Shangguan's gloomy expression, but he didn't speak. He waved his hand. Tell me the truth. Whether it is pretending to be a ghost, or really having supernatural powers, as long as the momentum is big and the reputation is big, the government is often not allowed. But this time the goal is too hard, even the city can't handle it. Fortunately, King Jin is coming soon, they just need to record everything truthfully and leave it to the king to make a decision. Pedestrians kept going up the hill and finally converged on the square. I saw the 5 chi gathered together and turned into a clear cloud of Ching Ching Kingyun the size of an acre. One person sat cross-legged on the cloud bed, and said a mysterious voice, "The Tao is the Tao, the very Tao, the robbery is the robbery, the very robbery. The robbery is life and death, karma, silence. Meet the fairy." Seeing this scene, the people were stunned, even some wealthy businessmen and scholars knelt down. Jozu was mixed in the crowd. Seeing this scene, he only felt a shock, and his eyes almost burst into tears. It's true. Immortal, true immortal. Our road to longevity has not been cut off. He calmed down and listened carefully to Fang Xian's preaching. However, he found that the Taoist only spoke for a while, and then stopped continuing, which made him anxious when he was hearing the subtleties. This time, this Dao has opened the mountain gate. Anyone who enters the mountain is a person who is destined. They can worship the mountain gate, or go to find an opportunity. After Fang Xian said the last sentence, the surrounding clouds and mists shrouded him, and his figure suddenly disappeared. The immortal asked me to wait for the opportunity. Could it be that there is some treasure hidden? Next to Ningbo sang, a scholar's eyes brightened. Everyone, if you don't look for it at this time, when will you wait? Ningbo's reward was a step slower, and when he saw the escorts dispersed in a hurry, he also laughed dumbly. Even if the immortals leave treasures, they are only given to those who are destined. This is a matter of fate, how can you force it? With this thought in mind, he walked around Fang Xian Dao to play. Although the Taoist temple here is newly built, everything is in good order, which is extraordinary. Ah, immortal, immortal. Ning Bashang's eyes were a little dazed. In fact, he doesn't have much ambition for a career. Especially after seeing the invincible white ape monster and another immortal showing miracles, a kind of unwillingness emerged in the bottom of my heart. Am I going to live an ordinary life like this, turning into a dead bone, but seeing other people become immortals at ease? Do not. Do not. Unwillingly, I suddenly came to a flower bead. What? Ning Bashang looked at a big red flower and bones, his eyes suddenly couldn't move. At this time, in the sympathy of Qi and machine, the huge flower bone blossomed suddenly, revealing an elixir in the flower stamen. This is chance. The chance the immortal gave me? Ning Bashang's heart moved, and he saw that no one was paying attention, and quickly put away the medicine pill and put it into his cuff. This elixir is the Ji-Den refined by Fang Xian. It is claimed that the blood of the white ape is used as medicine, but it is actually fooled by the blood of the tiger demon and the eagle demon. Even so, it is infinitely useful. At the same time, Joju's heart was beating wildly, something was hidden in his arms, and he quickly descended the mountain. The Lord of Reincarnation. Author, Wen Xiaogong. Chapter 224. Teacher. Evening. Base Heizi and Tung Hiza stood in front of Fang Xian, bowed and said, "The celebration is over, all the guests have come down safely." Very good. This time, the mountain gate was opened, and many people with spiritual wisdom and good fortune came, and some of them worshipped the gate. Now there are 9 true legends of our immortal path, 36 inner disciples, and 72 outer gates. Disciple, enough is enough. Fang Xian smiled. In addition, he also met a few little guys with good endowments, and each gave them an opportunity. Presumably in the future, there will be achievements. At this time, I just planted some seeds and played a game of power. Taoist. Another Taoist came in and bowed to report, "The government has sent a message that the king of Jin will soon lead an army to quell the rebellion. At the same time, he intends to visit the Taoist temple. What should I do? Please also ask the Taoist to show it." Dynasty on earth, what's the matter with me? Fang Xian asked back. What tricks, what means, in the final analysis, depends on hard power. In this world, there is no one else except him who has the strongest hard power. It can be said that it already has the ability to lift the table. If that's the case, why is it necessary to serve the secular kingship eagerly like the Taoists before? Good. Bo Shizi and Tong Jizi looked at each other, and they both had a feeling of exaltation. In the past, Taoist people did not have much supernatural powers, and even a little incense magic had to be restrained by dragon energy, so he had to kneel. If you have to kneel again at this time, that is a natural scumbag. Pass my decree, close the mountain gate, and see no outsiders. Fang Xian calmly passed down the decree. Follow the law. All the Taoists bowed and obeyed their orders. With the protection of immortals, they are not afraid of imperial power, but they can't help but feel a little uneasy. Boulder is fearless, knowing that as long as the master's meat and pill is in hand, he is not afraid of those powerful people not bowing their heads. At this time, only the gate is closed, so that leaves some room for each other. After all, for the royal affairs, the participants will not end well, let's just go about it. Dingzhou border. The 20,000 capital camps were lined up in a mighty line, dark and dark, with a breathtaking majesty. The core of the army is the hundreds of golden armored guards, surrounded by one person, holding a big dragon umbrella. It is the king of Jin. The king of Jin looked at the army with a look of intoxication on his face, and secretly said in his heart, "Sure enough, a man cannot be without power for a day, and among all powers, military power is the most important." This Beijing camp was made by recruiting elites from all over the country. It was regarded as a forbidden army, and it was also the capital of the emperor to maintain the throne. Maybe in the future, it will gradually become more and more Fubai, but at this time, it is still well equipped and well supplied, and one meet every 3 days. In ancient times, fighting was fighting armor, money, and meat. A farmer who can't eat meat a few times a year may not be able to run and fight even if he wears armor. Not to mention, basically no armor. Such a refugee army, tens of thousands and hundreds of thousands, were defeated by thousands of elite soldiers of the imperial court. This is repeated in the history books. There are only 200,000 soldiers in the capital, so I brought 20,000 out. They are first-class soldiers, worth 40,000 or 50,000 state soldiers, and they will be able to put down the rebellion in one fell swoop. Who is it? King Jin thought proudly. If it weren't for the fact that there were monsters helping Wang Shun and hiding in the mountains, he would almost treat him as a dead person. With a mere area of one county, he dared to rebel at the time of Great Zhou Taiping. Could it be a lunatic? Certainly. It is said that the white ape monster is powerful, but it still has to rely on the Taoist to take action. It is said that the immortals of Fangxiandao have a meat-returning pill that can make people rejuvenate. King Jin was a little hot in his heart, but also a little awkward. In all fairness, if he can get the elixir of rejuvenation and give it to his father, it will definitely make him happy. However, in King Jin's heart, buried deep, there is still a thought. If the royal father is truly long-lived, then what is the use of him even if he becomes the prince? Heaven has no affection. During the tangle, a scout came quickly and sent the latest news from Dingzhou. King Jin took a look, and his face suddenly flushed with anger. Fang Xiandao seals the mountain? Is this to reject this king? The king's anger is no trivial matter. And King Jin was even more unusual, his cold murderous aura made the guards next to him dripping with sweat. At this moment, the secret letter sent by Zhou also arrived. King Jin glanced, his eyelids jumped, he forcibly suppressed his inner anger, and said with a smile, "Forget it, or the lonely king of virtue, I will wait until the chaos is settled, and then go to visit the immortals." After all, he is not a fool, and he doesn't want to provoke another seemingly magical enemy when he is attacking the monsters and Wang Shun's group. However, after the White Ape and the rebellion are annihilated, they will have enough time and energy to deal with each other well. Your Highness is wise. A few staff members next to each other glanced at each other, and could not help secretly relieved. Zhenyang House. With the help of the monsters, Wang Shun subdued the bandits of the people of Bailiang Mountain. He gathered thousands of troops and attacked the city and sacked the land again and again, destroying one side. At this time, although the palace city has not been breached, it is still in a state of panic. Zhou dressed up as an ordinary foot merchant. Along the way, he saw that many farmlands had been put aside, and he couldn't help feeling secretly, even if this place can be peaceful, there will be famine. He had already seen it in the palace city, and at this time, the art master was bold and went to Dajhan County. When passing a village, I was caught by the sound of gongs and drums. A group of people can be seen from a distance, carrying a statue of a god, as if they are doing a sacrifice. But the statue was dark and not like a true god. At first glance, it looked like a shrine in the countryside, which made Zhou frown. He took a step forward, stopped a villager, and asked, "This old man, I'm a businessman from another place. I've brought some goods here. I want to inquire about the local market. Please make it convenient." As he said that, he stuffed a small jar of salt in, and the villager immediately smiled and said, "Just ask, my old son knows everything." "I heard the war here, why didn't the villagers run away?" Zhou immediately asked. "After all, I haven't been in the army yet, but the rich man ran away. If we want to run, we have nowhere to go," the old son said with a sullen face. "Fortunately, I heard that Wang Shun did not kill the commoners, but only robbed the big households and robbed the rich to help the poor. It's a way of doing things for heaven. His heart can be punished." Zhou secretly commented, and said with emotion, "Me too, if it wasn't for earning a living, who would come here to do business with their heads on their belts? And what is this village doing? Hey, recently we have been making a lot of monsters here. I heard that there are monster wolves in the neighboring county, eating countless people. That's miserable. Later, I don't know who spread it out. As long as you worship the black gods, there will be no monsters harassing them." "Well, our village is also asking God," Lao Sun pouted. "Black God General?" Zhou glanced at it again. At this time, the team was approaching, and the statue was clearer. The hairy face and Legong mouth looked like a black horse monkey. He was stunned for a moment. "Isn't the white ape making trouble? How did you become a black monkey?" You are listening to Novels at Bless Up channel. Wish you happiness and luck. How do you feel about this novel? Please like and leave a comment. The Lord of Reincarnation. Author, Wen Xiaogong. Chapter 225. Squeak. Just as Zhou was about to take a closer look, he saw a mass of black light condensed above the statue, making a squeaking sound of ape, which was very strange. The black god will appear. The villagers prostrate in awe and prayed with incense. Surrounded by the crowd, an old man dressed in colorful feathers who seemed to be a temple blessing suddenly trembled, foamed at the mouth, and was mad like a sheep. Not good. When Josu saw this scene, he instinctively felt that something was wrong, and just turned around. He heard a loud shout from the temple blessing, "The black god will say, this person is a wicked person, take him down." With a single finger, it is Josu. At this time, even the old grandson, who had just been kind and cheerful, looked a little wrong. The reason is simple. Even if he doesn't believe in black gods, he can't cut himself off from the villagers. Catch him. Grandpa Black God wants his blood sacrifice. The original villager's expression suddenly became distorted, and he picked up the farm tools at hand and rushed over. Damn. These foolish people can't wait to be struck by a thunderbolt. Josu's teeth were almost crushed. He cultivates Daofa, and is really not afraid of a few ordinary people. It's just that after all, the body is mortal and has never been extraordinary, and it is still very dangerous to be trapped. Moreover, Josu didn't dare to really start killing, and he was angry with the dragon. Deists who practice incense magic are so miserable. At this time, he was really holding his head and running away. Taking advantage of the opportunity, he threw out a few yellow paper talismans and chanted, "Disease." A few paper figurines landed and turned into golden armor generals, which scared the villagers into a stagnation. "Fake, rush with me." The old man in the temple gave a loud shout and passed directly through the chest of the Jinjia god. This area of blindness is just a small trick, and even he can't hide it. Sure enough, it's a monster. Catch up, I caught him and soaked it in the cesspool. The villagers were outraged. But at this time, Josu, seizing this opportunity, had already escaped far away and hid in a forest. It's very dangerous, otherwise, I don't know how to end today. Damn, if the demon clan only knew how to kill humans, it would be easier to handle. Now to deceive humans, as a wing, do you still suggest that King Jin kill them all? It's not impossible, it's just a bit of a backlash, and the reputation is not good. At least Josu himself doesn't want to bear it. At this moment, the shadows of the surrounding trees moved, and a strange atmosphere shrouded. The shadow of the ancient wood shrouded down, twisting and changing, like dry arms. This feeling is not the incense demon in the classics, but a stronger demon. Josu's face was straight, he waved his sleeves, and a ball of fire flew out. Boom! The flames passed by, purging the demon atmosphere, and restoring the surrounding scene. The sky is still the same, the earth is still the same, and the ancient trees in the woods have not changed in the slightest. Just on a branch, a black horse monkey clings to it, staring straight at Josu. Taoist, kill. In its eyes, there are colorful colors flashing, the words are unclear, and there is a sense of madness. With a sudden roar, he rushed over. What? It feels a bit like incense again. This demon is very strange. Josu moved in his heart and took out a token. This is given by King Jin, and it has dragon energy on it. In the void, a dragon roar suddenly came. With a strange cry, the monkey fell from the tree, twitching all over his body, alternating black, red and various colors of light. Haha, you stupid demon. When Josu saw this, he breathed a sigh of relief and laughed again. There is a righteous way and no cultivation, but you came to cultivate my way of incense, you idiot who put the cart before the horse. The righteous path of the demon clan is obtained from the white ape. And Bai Yuan's elixir was stolen from Fang Xian Dao, so Josu felt that it was directly pointing to the way of immortals. This monkey demon obviously has inheritance, but he wants to learn from the gods and gather the incense of faith. Isn't he giving up watermelon to pick up sesame seeds? After all, the way of incense has a very low upper limit. Haha, you know, this incense and wishing power, as far as the physical body is concerned, is poisonous and extremely poisonous. Therefore, no Taoist has ever been able to cultivate to the peak, and the body and spirit are wonderful. Moreover, as soon as you enter this way, you will be affected by the dragon's energy. Restraint, you stupid monster. Zhou took a step forward and was ready to end the monster. He also got a chance on the mountain of Dengxian before. It was a black bead. This bead has been tested by him, and it actually has the miraculous effect of transforming the spirit. Although there is only a little bit every day, for cultivators, it is also equivalent to a long drought and a good rain. I just don't know why, the closer to Zhenyang Mansion, the better the effect. At this moment, the spiritual orb in his arms shook, and Zhou knew that if he killed this monster, the spiritual energy he could obtain would be extremely rich, and he might be able to break through the current state of Taoism. Moreover, it is only right and proper for the human race to kill monsters. With almost no need for psychological construction, Zhou Pain the killer, a dagger appeared in his hand, and stabbed the monkey's heart fiercely. But at this moment, the black horse monkey who was rolling and howling on the ground, the colorful light on his body quickly faded, his eyes flashed fiercely, and he screamed strangely, and the hair on his body stood upright, like a layer of black armor. Puff! The dagger pierced through the black hair and pierced into the flesh with difficulty, bringing with it some blood. But that's it, the black horse monkey quickly backed away and hid in the jungle. Only the voice of resentment came, "Human, I remember you. What happened? How did this monster suddenly become so powerful?" Zhou was startled, his scalp felt numb, and suddenly, when he saw the token in his hand, he understood. The monkey demon from before, greedy for the divine way and gathering incense and wishing power, is actually half crazy, so it is very easy to deal with. But I took out the token given by the prince and broke its divine way. I replaced it with a Taoist or ordinary gods, naturally have no resistance, but this monster is different. It has also cultivated other magical powers, breaking the incense and letting it break free from the previous chaotic state, recovering a little bit of sobriety. When I think about it, I hate it. At this time, I had the heart to chase, but the monkey demon swept like a fly as soon as it climbed the tree, and disappeared. Can only be reluctant to turn back. This place is dangerous, I must leave quickly. If the monkey demon finds a few more helpers, I will fold here 80%, if the white ape demon saint makes a move, I will definitely die. Zhou didn't even think about it, he turned his head and left. He was in possession of such a treasure as the spiritual beads, and finally Dao had a glimmer of hope, and naturally he was reluctant to die. Not only reluctant to die, but also want to study the efficacy of this treasure. This treasure seems to be very active within the Zhenyang Mansion, and the inspiration provided every day is 50 to 60% more. What is the transformation? While Zhou hurried away, he took out the spirit orb to replenish his vitality. Suddenly, he seemed to see a phantom in the spirit bead, but it disappeared in an instant. When I look closely, I find nothing, which is almost an illusion. This thing, I'm afraid it is the bait of Fangxian Daoist. Zhou felt a chill in his heart, but his face immediately showed a ruthless expression. In order to become enlightened, even if it is the bait, I will bite it. The Lord of Reincarnation. Author, Wen Xiaogong. Chapter 226. Zhenyang City. The mighty Jingying entered the city, majestic, and calmed the hearts of the agitated. Xiaoguan, Sun Xingyuan, the prefect of Zhenyang, has seen His Royal Highness King Jin. King Jin rode into the city on horseback, saw the prefect of Zhenyang, and greeted him with 100 officials. He frowned and said softly, "Take it." The warriors and wolves waiting on both sides rushed forward immediately, knocked down the wuxia hat of the prefect of Zhenyang, and tied him up. When the other kneeling officials saw this scene, they didn't even have the courage to say a word for their superiors. Instead, they were sweating and trembling. This is the authority of the unified feudal dynasty. Life and death can be seized, just in the moment of the superior. Sun Xingyun's face was pale, but he didn't say a word. Seeing this scene, King Jin was still satisfied. No matter what, you have ruled the rebel army, but you can't kill it for a long time. If you are guilty of negligence, you can't escape, so let's escort it first. He asked again, where is the common knowledge? Xiaoguanshan Yukan, pay tribute to His Royal Highness King Jin. A middle-aged civil official knelt out, and although his face was pale, he still maintained his official body. Well, you are the deputy of the prefect, and you are directly acting for the prefect at this time. My army's crusade, logistical supply, depends on you. Can you do it? If you can't do it, the solitary king will not hide it from you. Your fate will definitely be better than Sun's. The prefect is still miserable. Sun Xingyun was actually wronged, but who made him go wrong? Chen Yuqin understood this and knew that this was an opportunity but also a risk. Once it is done, the position of the prefect will be a sure thing, and it will enter the eyes of the king of Jin, and the future will be limitless. But in case of failure, there is no need to say much about the fate. Without thinking about it at this time, he gritted his teeth and said, Xiaoguan is going to work hard, and he will also handle the prince's errand well. Very good. King Jin nodded and said to a general next to him, General Huang, the solitary king is only the governor of the army, and the war is left to you. Please rest assured, Your Highness. The bronze-faced General Huang Ba responded, very clear about his identity and mission. This time, if the battle is successful, the king of Jin will naturally be written down, but if something goes wrong, he will be blamed, which is also the emperor's love. Although I know, but I have nothing to say, but I must try my best to do the errand well. Well. King Jin smiled and entered the city with General Huang Ba and entered the mansion that had been prepared. King Jin couldn't wait to ask, what did the general teach me? In this battle, we cannot seek speed, but stability. Huang Ba stroked his beard and ordered someone to send a map. We have 30,000 soldiers in the prefecture and 20,000 in the Beijing camp. People eat horses and shoes, and the cost is huge. If you go into the mountains, the Baliang mountain is wide and deep, and I'm afraid that the rebels will drag them too. We are dead. The last general thought that we should fight steadily, deploy heavy troops in the counties around Baliang mountain, block all mountain roads, kill all the traders, and make sure not to let a grain of rice, salt, cloth, and iron enter the mountains. The lack of materials in the mountains, especially the lack of salt, is indeed a desperate plan. It's really a good plan. King Jin looked at the map and nodded. King Gu looked at the history books. There was chaos in the southern border in the past, and General Long used this method to quell the rebellion, and the same is true for the previous dynasty. It's just that the emperor is worried about the society, and as a son of man, I have to share my worries. This means that the emperor is a little anxious to calm down. I mean, at the same time as the blockade, send a small team to go into the mountains to fight the war of attrition with the mountain people. Soldiers are not too expensive, mainly to gain experience in mountain combat. Contributions can be made. King Jin paced a few steps and said suddenly, it's a good strategy. With this two-pronged approach, there is absolutely no possibility for the mountain people to come back. Huang Ba praised it. In fact, he had come up with this plan a long time ago, but he deliberately did not say it, and with some unfinished thought, King Jin really proposed it. It is the duty of a courtier to take advantage of the situation to record a merit for the king of Jin. The general trend is in me, and I will fight hard, and no one in the court will be afraid. The king of Jin sneered, the lone king will give out a reward again, and the team fighting in the mountains will be rewarded 5 taels of silver for every head of a mountaineer cut off. When the battle is fought to the point of being more worthy of death than anyone else, it is no longer an end game, but a dead end. One less of the mountain people died, but the imperial army continued to flow. King Jin's plan is great, now there is only one thing to worry about, and that is the monster. Huang Bie said, this is a variable. The solitary king has also gathered some Taoists. This time it may be useful. Besides, if the mountain people jumped over the wall and went out to fight, what should they do? King Jin asked. Haha, how many people are there in the mountains? If you dare to go out to the mountains and invite battles, then we will decide on one battle. Letting them be wiped out is the best result. Even if there are monsters and tens of thousands of troops besieged and killed, they will be dead. Huang Bie laughed. At this moment, the newly appointed acting prefect Chen Yuqin asked to see him. Let him in. King Jin's eyebrows moved, and he had some hunch. I saw Chen Yuqin trotting all the way, not even caring about the manners of an official, holding a piece of information in his hand. His Royal Highness King Jin, the latest information, the bandit leader Wang Shun, seems to have an intention to come out. King Jin and Huang Bie looked at each other, and both had a sense of unreal fantasy. Then Wang Shun, isn't he a fool? Or was it a series of victories before, and it swelled? With thousands of mountain people, they dared to go out into the mountains to fight against the imperial court's 50,000 army, and even the king of Jin had to write him the word serving. At this time, outside the city. When the army entered the city, martial law naturally began, but suddenly a person came outside the city gate. Who is coming? The soldiers defending the city immediately bent their bows and arrows and shouted loudly. King Jin's staff, Zhou. This is the token. Zhou held a gold medal high and handed it over to the team for inspection, and then he was able to pass through the city gate and come to the temporary residence of King Jin. As soon as he entered, he felt the atmosphere was tense and very strange. Steward's son, what happened? I want to see the prince. Zhou stopped a familiar steward and asked. It turned out to be Mr. Joda. Is everything going well? Steward's son replied with a smile, and at the same time handed over the bottom line. Your Highness is very busy today. As soon as I entered the city, I received the news that Wang Ni had come out of the mountain, and is in the process of talking to everyone. The general is discussing military affairs. If it is not an important matter for Mr. Joda, it is best not to disturb him. This is Zhou, and if it was someone else, he didn't bother to remind him. Thank you, steward, I understand. Zhou's face sank like water. The monster information he inquired could not be said to be useless, but it was too late. That traitor Wang Shun, how dared to go out and fight, who gave him the courage? It's just such a good opportunity, the prince will not let it go. Even if the monsters come out from the nest, it is the best time to catch them all. Only. Zhou secretly touched the clever beads and found that the beads were more active. This pearl, I'm afraid it can convert disasters into spiritual energy. I'm so active now, I'm afraid it's very ominous, but I can't use it to talk about it. In Zhou's mind, a large haze suddenly appeared. The Lord of Reincarnation. Author, Wen Xiaogong. Chapter 227. Dajhan County. County seat. A big Shun flag fluttered in the wind at the top of the city. Wang Shun inspected the city wall, his brows furrowed, and his heart was obviously very uneasy. Rebellion is really not an easy job. He racked his brains, and with a little luck, broke the encirclement and suppression in the mansion, and immediately the imperial court's army of 50,000 arrived. Originally, according to Wang Shun's intention, it must be better to hide in the mountains as a tortoise. With the mountain people's familiarity with the terrain and the help of monsters, they can maintain stability for at least a few years. But Shan Junzi directly rejected the plan. Wang Shun had to bring 3,000 mountain people to Dajhan County again. As for breaking the city, it was easy. After all, he had already beaten it once, and he was well known. With help, they broke the city and occupied it. but then, immediately is about to face the situation of the imperial court's crusade. Zaizu, Lord Shanjun is here. At this time, a mountain man came over and whispered a few words. Please. Wang Shun hurriedly took 2 steps forward, and saw Shanjunzi striding forward. If this time passes, you can officially become the king. Lord Yaozheng has already chosen the word for you, it must be King Shun. Wang Shun, King Shun? Wang Shun's expression changed a bit, like yearning, like fear, but also with some excitement. My whole family's lives were saved by Grandpa White Ape, so I'm not afraid of anything. Anyway, it's already famous in history, no matter how bad it is, haha. Family blood and the like have naturally been transferred long ago. For those who rebel, this way back should be prepared early. At this moment, Wang Shun was really not afraid of anything. Haha, relax, this time our demon clan will help you vigorously, at least disrupt this state. I recently read some books written by humans, King, if you don't occupy an ancient state, you're not a true king. But the grass-head king, haha, when the time comes, don't forget your promise. Shanjunzi laughed. If I dominate Dingzhou, I will cut Zhenyang Mansion. Wang Shun shrugged his shoulders, very indifferent. Very good. Shanjunzi turned into a demonic wind and disappeared immediately. Although the other mountain residents had seen a lot of them, they were still trembling with fear when they saw this scene. Shanjunzi galloped all the way and came to the demon court. This mountain has already become a monster base camp at this time, and I don't know how many spirits are patrolling beside it. Shanjunzi came to the stone room and saw Yukongzi. The human in the shape of Yukongzi is tall, dressed in black, with a hooked nose, pointed falcon eyes, and some feather-like lines on his face. This is done on purpose to distinguish it from humans. Any demon race, even if it takes shape, will retain some of the pride of its own race. Shanjunzi, are you back? Seeing the arrival of Shanjunzi, Yukongzi, who was sitting cross-legged, opened his eyes. His face was sad and unhappy. How is the teacher? Shanjunzi bowed 3 times to Shishi before asking. As usual, I don't dare to rashly use demon power to spy on it, I must be able to use my teacher's ability, and I will be fine. Yukongzi said calmly. This time, the human court sent tens of thousands of troops to encircle and suppress the rebel king. It is said that it is still a prince leading the team. It is up to you to take action. Shanjunzi said, I will guard this place. I shot, of course there is no problem, but on the human side, if Fang Xiandao's immortal shot, what should we do? The monsters are not afraid of the sky, the earth is not afraid, they are afraid that they can hurt the deist Fang Xian of the white ape. Hey, don't worry, the little monsters I sent have all come back, and told me that the immortals established a dojo in the distance, and did not participate in the army, no immortals, ordinary Taoist priests, just delivering food. Shanjunzi stuck out his tongue and licked his lips. It was still a little scared at first, but after testing it a few times, especially after eating a few Taoists, it suddenly understood. In this world, apart from Fang Xiandao, there is no power that can contain the demon clan. What imperial dragon spirit? What Taoist Taoism? They are all paper tigers, things that can be broken with a poke. Well, since this is the case, I have nothing to be afraid of, it's just that the flaws of my demon clan may not be outside, but inside. Yukongzi said, I heard from the little bird spirits from all walks of life that the wolf general kept going down the mountain to eat people and didn't listen to dispatches, and the horse monkey turned into a black god general and went down the mountain to deceive the incense of the world. People suffered a big loss, and they stopped a lot. The horse monkey is of the same family as the teacher after all. As for the demon wolf, I used to be arrogant, but now that the human army arrives, doesn't it hide in the forest again? Shanjunzi said disdainfully, don't worry, I'll beat it, when the teacher leaves, things will be settled. Yet, Yukongzi also sighed. These two monsters have absolute confidence in the great sage white ape. Wang Shun, you have done something wrong. As soon as Wang Shun opened his eyes, he saw a group of officers and soldiers rushing into the room. Where is my personal guard? He roared angrily and found that there was no response at all. He couldn't help but feel empty. When he saw the officers and soldiers besieging him, he became more panicked and went to draw the long sword by the bed. Under this pull, he even caught an empty space. I saw the sharp sword that has been inseparable, but now there is only an empty scabbard. Ha ha! The officers and soldiers laughed and put the chain around Wang Shun's neck, while an officer next to him drew a knife. Puff! Blood splashes. What? Wang Shun was covered in cold sweat and woke up from the dream. His first reaction was to touch his neck. Is my head still there? The second reaction is to grab the long sword. With the sword in hand, I felt a little more at ease, which relieved my spirit. Zaizu, the big thing is bad. At this time, the sound of hurried footsteps approached quickly, and it was the sound of the door. What happened? Wang Shun put on his clothes and walked out of the door, only to see the morning light dim, and it was almost dawn. Received a message from the demon clan, the imperial army is approaching. The mountain people hurriedly said. What? Take me to see it? And, inform everyone, get up and be alert. Wang Shun was shocked and came to the top of the city wall. It didn't take long before I saw a black line in the distance. This line kept approaching, and immediately turned into a tidal stream of people. It was the 20,000 capital battalion of the imperial court. Above the city wall, Wang Shun felt suffocated as he watched the uniform army approaching. He's actually pretty good. The other mountain people were trembling with their legs and almost collapsed without a fight. After all, for 10 years on Saturday, the majesty of the imperial court is deeply rooted in the hearts of the people. If they met in the plains, maybe the mountain people would have fled directly. Even if he was relying on the city, Wang Shun could not guarantee it. At this time, he repeatedly issued orders, let the white-haired soldiers supervise the team, and those who dare to escape will be executed. The Baimao soldiers were from Baimao village, and they were Wang Shun's direct descendants. This was also impossible, so they could only be pushed up. You are listening to Novels at Bless Up channel. Wish you happiness and luck. How do you feel about this novel? Please like and leave a comment. The Lord of Reincarnation. Author, Wen Xiaogong. Chapter 228. Pity. Among the imperial army, King Jin raised his head and looked at the city wall of Dajhan County, showing a pity. Obviously there is no horse inspection. Why can the thieves in Dajhan County detect the reaction so quickly? Could it be that monsters help? Otherwise, you might be able to make a sneak attack directly and have a hearty victory. Even if it's not a monster clan, tens of thousands of troops marching, it's easy to leak. Huang Bie smiled and said, His Royal Highness, now the mountain people are looking for their own way of death, but it is a good luck. I have ordered the state soldiers to block the main intersections of Baliang Mountain, set up traps, and wait for the monsters to slaughter. In addition, there are thousands of mountain people in the city, all of whom are the backbone of the main force. With the fighting strength of the Beijing camp, they will definitely be able to go down in one go. This is the first time the battle has gone so smoothly. Monster. King Jin didn't know why, but when he thought of the information sent by Zhou, he suddenly felt a little uneasy. This monster in Zhenyang Mansion seems to be different from the record. Well, the monsters in the records are not only afraid of dragon energy, official energy, and the slaughtering suffocating energy of the 10,000 armies, but also their nemesis. Huang Bie obviously has a lot of research on this. The monsters in Baliang Mountain may be a little unusual. But the strength is limited. I have sent elite soldiers to try to hunt secretly a few times. The strength is indeed very strong, but relying on strong bows, armor, and at most dozens of casualties can be taken. If there are traps, casualties less. He didn't know that the unlucky ones who fell into his trap were not the first and second generation monsters inspired by Fang Xian, but only the monsters who got the Emperor's jelly. This time, even if the state soldiers are exhausted, they can kill a large number of monsters, and they will make a lot of money. Huang Ba's face showed a ruthless look. Just look at this Wang Shun, how much weight he has in the monsters. The greater the weight, the more investment, the more afraid of loss, it is possible to continue to raise, and eventually lose money. The lone king will wait and see. King Jin laughed loudly. Maybe it's better not to break the city right away, and surround the spot to help. Since Wang Shun started his army, he has been investigated for a long time. If a mere head of the hunter is not funded by the demon clan, what is it? King Jin knew that what the father was worried about was not the rebel, but the monster hidden behind him. At the same time, there are all kinds of immortals and Fang Xiandao. After that, everything will be handed over to the general's command. He said to Huang domineering. Please rest assured, His Royal Highness King Jin. Huang Ba's expression suddenly became majestic, and he repeatedly issued orders to let the army surround Dajhan County into an iron barrel. Above the city wall, Wang Shun was almost in despair, but he couldn't think about it. He could only watch helplessly as the imperial army surrounded him to death. After several attempts, it ended in failure, but almost let the army break into the city. Where is Shanjunzi? Why haven't you come yet? His eyes were bloodshot, and he roared. There was silence on the wall, and no one answered. Wang Shun gave a wry smile, shook his head, and seemed to have lost all his strength. That's it, are you ready? The lord of the village. All ready. A white-haired soldier came over and said. If I can't live on forever, I'll be stinky for thousands of years. Wang Shun's eyes flashed fiercely. If the imperial army breaks the city, I will burn the city. In fact, he also knew that it was probably useless. Even the mountain people had the instinct to survive, and he probably had to burn himself to death in the end. But at least, he has been here and witnessed, and in the history books, he will definitely leave a strong mark. It seems, that's enough. Whoosh. At this moment, a gust of wind fell on the top of the city and turned into a person. It was Yu Kongzi. Wang Shun, I'm here to help you. It looked at Wang Shun and let out a strange cry. It turned out to be Lord Yu Kongzi. Please help me. In the desperate situation, I saw a glimmer of hope by chance. Even Wang Shun was a bit unbearable, as if he wanted to kneel down and hug Yu Kongzi's thigh. This man, how is this? Yu Kongzi felt a little unhappy in her heart, but she knew that the more such a person was, the easier it would be to control. At this time, he said, you don't have to fight, look at the strength of my demon clan. This time, my demon clan will surely shock the world. Wang Shun couldn't help but wonder when he heard this. But the next moment, he saw Yu Kongzi screaming in the sky. The eagle's cry pierced the sky and broke the clouds, with amazing penetrating power. This is, a bird call? Monster. In the army formation, King Jin's expression tightened, and several Taoist priests around him quickly approached, including Zhou. But if he felt something, he looked in the direction of Bailiang Mountain. It's over there. I saw a large dark cloud floating in the direction of Bailiang Mountain. Do not. It wasn't a dark cloud, but a large patch of birds of all kinds. Several of them are particularly huge, and they must be spirits or even real monsters. Damn, bird monsters, the state soldiers on the ground can't stop it. Shoot the King Gu. Shoot them to death. King Jin couldn't help shouting, suddenly reacted, and looked at Huang Ba next to him. Huang Ba sighed and handed down the military order. In a partial formation, A rain of arrows suddenly shot out, but they shot in the air, and after going straight for 200 meters, the arrows lost their strength and flew down staggeringly. They fly too high for bows and arrows to shoot. Huang Bie shook his head, but just a few birds, as long as they wait for the whereabouts to attack, they will be able to kill them all in one wave. Send the order, don't panic, those who are in chaos will be killed. But beyond his expectations, that large dark cloud came to the sky above the army formation and did not descend to attack, but raised the flight altitude again. Suddenly, something fell. That's a pebble. Even if it's not big, but after the continuous acceleration of gravity, it has become very terrifying, enough to smash people's heads. If Fang Xian was here, he would definitely comment on the worst case of falling objects in history. Not good. Shield. Huang Bie was shocked, but it was too late. In the sky, all kinds of stones fell quickly, and at such a high height, even if a fruit fell, it had amazing power. Not to mention, there are also sprites and monsters mixed in, they are huge in size, they can carry more and heavier items, and their lethality is even more amazing. Did you see it? I have the ability to call on birds, the great sage personally named me as the Air Force General. He must have expected this scene. We can fly very high, why should we fight humans? On the city wall, Yukongza sneered, the highest art of war is that only I can hit you, you can't hit me. This is also the knowledge that the teacher has engraved in my heart. After the first Air Force raid in history, the Imperial Army was in chaos, that is, Jingying. In such a case, it can still maintain its collapse. But it didn't work either. After the first wave of blows, the birds flew directly back to Bailiang Mountain. Immediately afterwards, the second wave of blows came. At the same time, a bloodthirsty color appeared in Yukongza's eyes, and he suddenly turned into an incomparably huge eagle, soaring into the sky. The target was the King Jin, who was closely guarded among the 10,000 army. The Lord of Reincarnation. Author, Wen Xiaogong. Chapter 229. Raise your shield. Protect your highness. King Jin was slumped, surrounded by his confidants, holding up his shield like a huge tortoise shell. Occasionally, a small stone fell on it, and it was bounced off without hurting the people below. Shields. Shields, not good, it's impossible for everyone in the army to have a shield, bow and arrow battalion, spear battalion, logistics battalion, I'm afraid there will be heavy casualties. One of the Jin King's staff lost his voice, I am afraid that I will be marching this time. He glanced at King Jin and didn't dare to say it, but the meaning was already obvious. This time, I am afraid that I will be defeated without a fight. King Jin's face was sinking like water. Do you gentlemen have a solution to this method of warfare? It's hard to reach in the air. After all, we don't have wings, we can't fly, only have more shields and passive defense. The staff looked at each other with bitterness. You have to come up with a way, it doesn't matter if the lonely king fails here once, but he can't let the latecomers fail continuously, isn't it a shield, with my great wealth? Just as King Jin finished speaking, he heard a loud noise. A shield-wielding guard beside him was smashed into a puddle of flesh. The culprit was a rock the size of a human head. With such a heavy object, ordinary birds will definitely not be able to catch the sky, but he won the big prize and encountered the bombing of spirits or monsters. A little blood splashed on King Jin's face, which immediately made his whole body quivering, braving the cold air. Quick, escort the solitary king away. If they don't leave, both the prince and the common soldier may be killed by such a stone. Life has never been so fragile, and never so equal. And if King Jin is dead, then he is nothing. Protect the prince, get out of here. Zhou and others are also thinking, want to leave this battlefield. At this moment, the boulders fell one after another, obviously targeting. Such a large stone fell from such a high position, With astonishing potential energy, even the armor and shield of the 100 refined steel were directly smashed and deformed. As for the people inside, it is naturally even more appalling. This is obviously targeted by monsters. Not good, King Jin is in danger. Jozu cried out, but at the same time, he felt the inspiration beads in his arms constantly spewing inspiration. If it is normal, it must be ecstatic, but at this time, it is just a shock in my heart, knowing that this bead really relies on the power of absorbing disasters and disasters to transform spiritual energy. Today, it may be necessary to rely on it to escape. Bang! Just then, there were loud noises again. Joju's scalp was numb, and he hurriedly rolled out. Puff puff! In the midst of the loud noise, countless rubble splashed, and some fell on his back, causing a burning pain. When Jozu turned around, he found that several spears fell from the sky, nailing several soldiers to death. He recognized that the guards were all first-class masters in the palace. With cooperation, he had hunted down Lu Wukan, the Knife King who was known as the #1 swordsman in Jianghu, and he was unharmed. But at this time, facing the iron spear falling from the sky, there is absolutely nothing to do. The iron shield array collapsed instantly, and everyone cried for their father and mother, and fled in embarrassment. Except for the die-hard loyalists of King Jin, other soldiers fled in all directions. It's not that they don't know that if King Jin dies, they will surely die, but at this time, it is too late to think about other things. All I want is to escape from this hell. Protect your majesty. Jozu raised his head. Seeing an incomparably huge black eagle, it seemed to swoop down, and couldn't help shouting loudly. Such a big eagle must be a monster. These monsters not only messed up the army with their magic tricks, they even wanted to assassinate the king and kill the generals. Chirp! The gust of wind howled, Yukongzi plummeted, and the approach was menacing. Fire arrows! The guards surrounding the king of Jin immediately bent their bows and arrows, and the bows and arrows went straight to Yukongzi. Yukongzi maintained the momentum of falling, and suddenly flapped her wings violently. Whoosh! The wind howled, blowing arrows into pieces. It landed on the ground, its sharp claws were like hooks, and it directly grabbed to death a staff member next to King Jin. Bold, I am the king, you dare to hurt me? King Jin turned pale and let out a loud shout. He is indeed the king of the world, even very close to the prince, and the dragon energy on his body is no trivial matter. Like Jozu and other Taoist priests, in front of him, he couldn't even cast spells. But for Yukongzi, the suffocation of the tens of thousands of troops can be ignored. What is this? Immediately, he flapped his wings, which seemed to have infinite power, and sent several guards flying. Golden armor protector, go! When Jozu saw this scene, he gritted his teeth and flew out a few paper figurines, turning them into gods, hoping to stop the monster. He relied on King Jin to cultivate, not to mention that he had a relationship, and it was only implicated in the divine way that he could not be separated. Casting spells at this time also felt uncomfortable. If King Jin hadn't given him a permission to cast spells, he would be no different from an ordinary person at this time. In addition to Jozu, a group of others raised by the king of Jin also shot, and various Taoist methods emerged and fell on Yukongzi. Lightning strike. Blue and yellow springs. Flying fire divine ability. Various rays of light exploded on Yukongzi's black feathers. The bird monster laughed, shook its feathers, and let out a cheerful cry. Yukongzi suddenly discovered that after doing today's big event, its demon power increased extremely rapidly. Even the technique of flesh and blood suddenly broke through a big realm. Although it was not invulnerable to swords and guns, the defense power was greatly increased. Although it was hit by a strong crossbow, it might break the defense, but the resistance to spells was very strong. At this time, a layer of black light appeared around it, and the thunder and fire and the golden armored gods were all present. No. I am the future emperor, you can't kill me. The king of Jin fell to the ground, rolling and crawling, ignoring his appearance. The king of the world, is it amazing? As soon as Yu Kongzi grabbed it, he grabbed the king of Jin in his claws and held it up high. Its beak opened, and dense teeth appeared, biting off half of King Jin's body in one bite. Crunch, click. The harsh chewing sound echoed on the battlefield, and blood dripped down. Bah, what kind of king? It's not the same taste. Yu Kongzi was not satisfied. Almost at the same time when King Jin died, a few Taoists showed despair on their faces, spit out a mouthful of blood, and some even had gray hair, and they sat down directly. They relied on King Jin to practice, or Fulong, and actually signed a Shinto contract with King Jin. Now that King Jin is dead, he is immediately attacked. Zhou also spewed out a mouthful of blood, feeling that his Taoist skills had been greatly damaged. He was in despair, but he was shocked to find the spiritual beads in his arms, and suddenly spit out a large amount of spiritual energy, which was worthy of making up for the lost vitality. Not only that, but it seems that some shackles have been taken off, and the whole person feels a little relaxed. The Lord of Reincarnation. Author, Wen Xiaogong. Chapter 230. Bailiang Mountain. The tightly closed door of the stone room slammed open. A white-haired ape with 2 eyes wandered out. Meet the teacher. The mountain gentleman who was waiting outside the door brightened his eyes and hurriedly saluted. Meet the great sage. Beside him, 2 women, one green and one white, gave the same enchanting salute. In addition, there are some other new monsters, which were formed by self-cultivation after bathing in the emperor's slush. It's the white rabbit and the green snake. Fang Xian yawned and asked deliberately, how is the outside world during this period of this saint's retreat? It's just a small matter, the teacher had expected it, and arranged the means, but Yu Kongzi and I didn't do it well, I'm extremely ashamed. Shan Junzi looked really ashamed. A little thing? If I don't come out again, God will pierce it for you. Fang Xian rolled his eyes secretly, came to the highest part of the demon court and sat down, and asked in a deep voice, tell me about it. Yes, after the teacher retreated, I discussed it with Yu Kongzi and decided to support Wang Shun. Shan Junzi immediately took out his own set of theories. The general idea is that for the safety of the demon clan, we must occupy Bailiang Mountain. To protect Bailiang Mountain, we must occupy Zhenyang Mansion. In order to obtain Zhenyang Mansion, we must defeat the state soldiers. Fang Xian listened, speechless for a long time, looked up and down the gentleman, and wanted to ask if his ancestors had imported blood. That's fine. He pressed his forehead, what's wrong with Yu Kongzi? Meet the teacher. Just as he was talking about this, a huge eagle fell from the sky and turned into a human figure of Yu Kongzi. Fang Xian had a black question mark on his face, tell me, how did the saint instruct you? Yes. Yu Kongzi thought that Fang Xian was taking the exam, so he did not dare to answer negligently. When the teacher taught the inheritance, he also attached human language, writing, and some combat skills, such as flying birds, so he couldn't rashly deal with a strong enemy, and tools should be used. Well, I said. Fang Xian thought about it for a while, and it seemed that there was such a thing, but the original intention was to let the eagle be careful when hunting, not to die casually. I think that the teacher is not only the expectation for me, but also the expectation for all the birds. After all, the teacher made me a general of the sky, in charge of all the birds. I thought hard for a few days, and finally realized the teacher's true meaning. The tactics, humans can't stop it, it really is unparalleled in the world. Yu Kongzi said proudly. Immediately, he solemnly bowed again, I killed the king of Jin before, and I feel that the demon power is advancing by leaps and bounds. I must wait for the way of the demon clan to cultivate in the calamity. The teacher calls me Ji Yao. Yes, we have been awakened long ago, but we are slow to comprehend, our aptitude is stupid, please forgive me. Shan Junzi took the other monsters and saluted. We didn't do well, we didn't understand the spirit of the teacher early, and we asked the teacher to punish. Looking at this posture, it seems that the 50,000 strong army of the imperial court was broken, and the king of Jin was killed in an array, and it was not enough of a sensation. Fang Xian took a deep breath and exhaled. At this time, the character set couldn't collapse. Well, it seems that you have a little understanding, so it's worthwhile to teach you a lesson. The comprehension power of these monsters, or the ability to distort his meaning, is really not ordinary. After barely calming down, Fang Xian asked again, Wang Shun, how's it going? This man is as timid as a mouse. I urged him several times to send troops to attack the state city. Fang Xiandao, in particular, wanted to avenge his teacher. As a result, this person was unable to obey his death. He tied up a few scholars to be military advisors, saying that the foundation was unstable and could not be dispatched quickly. Now he is busy recruiting the collapsed troops of the imperial court and occupying the entire Zhenyang house. Please rest assured, teacher, if he doesn't fulfill his promise later, I'll go eat him. The mountain gentleman bowed his head. Promise? What promise? Fang Xian asked, feeling even more speechless. This time, if he hadn't heard the news of the imperial court's defeat, he still wouldn't know that these monsters did such a big thing in silence. After thinking for a while, he still raised his arm covered with white hair. Well, I don't have a lot of mouths from the demon clan, so I need to slow down, and, Fang Xiandao is the enemy of the saint, you can't take it lightly. To cooperate with Wang Shun and consolidate Zhenyang Palace is the first. This monster clan developed too fast, he felt that it should be slow. Everything follows the teacher's wishes. The mountain gentleman said with tears in his eyes, it's because we are too useless to let the teacher be bullied by that Fang Xiandao. Please rest assured, teacher, we will work hard to cultivate in the future, destroy the Fang Xiandao, and avenge the teacher. To oppress our human race, we want this world to become our demon race. Revenge. Revenge. Monster world. Monster world. Many monsters shouted slogans impassively, and the atmosphere was extremely warm for a while. Fang Xian did not choke on his own saliva, feeling that his previous warnings were all in vain. He clutched his forehead and suddenly felt a headache. What else do you have to do? Let's talk together. Anyway, I'm used to being hit. This. Shan Junzi and Yukongza looked at each other, and talked about the demon wolf going down the mountain to eat people, and the big black horse monkey going to deceive Faith. That monkey deceived the incense, and the loss is his own business, that's all, but that General Wolf, although he hid in the mountains when the imperial court was encircling and suppressing it, the imperial court returned to his old ways and even worsened. Wang Shun, that human, has posted several times, saying that this demon wolf is too reckless, destroying the stability under his rule, and the image of our demon clan. Eat human. Fang Xian's eyes moved, a little dazed. It's actually understandable that monsters can eat people, but he can't see them. What's more, the general wolf is not for survival, but simply bloodthirsty. This saint has to think about it. Looking at the eyes of many monsters around, Fang Xian thoughtfully said. He was acutely aware that there was something wrong with it. It's not a trap, it's a concept. In the eyes of these monsters, what is cannibalism? The only one who is dissatisfied with the wolf demon is that he doesn't listen to dispatch. This is not a big deal. If he kills the wolf demon himself, he will probably lose his demon heart. Presumably this gentleman and Yukongza didn't think about it thoroughly, but they also felt that something was wrong, so they didn't do it themselves, but waited for him to deal with it. I can't imagine that there are so many twists and turns among the monsters. Fortunately, I have more than one vest, otherwise it is really difficult to solve. Fang Xian had a plan in his mind, waved his hand and said, "This sage already knows about this matter. First inform the wolf demon and the monkey demon, and let them come to the demon court to see." You are listening to Novels at Bless Up channel. Wish you happiness and luck. How do you feel about this novel? Please like and leave a comment. The Lord of Reincarnation. Author, Wen Xiaogong. Chapter 231. Yujia Village. This village is located at the foot of Baliang Mountain and belongs to Dajhan County. Previously, the Imperial Army was defeated, and tens of thousands of soldiers fled in all directions, which really brought a lot of trouble. But the villagers had no choice but to build a village to protect themselves. Relying on concerted efforts, they also drove away several waves of defeated soldiers. But at this time, everyone's face is bitter, and there are some mysterious expressions. Arya was walking on the road carrying the rice basket, and heard many adults whispering, "This big week, I'm afraid it will be over. There is such a shocking rebel like Wang Shun. 50,000 army, a prince, it's gone. I've seen Wang Shun before, why don't you think it's amazing? SHH, they are now King Shun. Who do you obey? Who do you obey? The demon. I bought, human rape. Let's be ruled by rebels here? What can we do? Rebels are nothing, they extort money and food at most, but monsters eat people to death. I heard that if you worship the Black God General, you can shelter us, why don't you give it a try?" Arya didn't quite understand what the adults were talking about. At this time, smelling the fragrance of rice, he walked briskly and came to the door of the earth wall. "Father, eat, eat." Arya just opened her mouth, but her expression suddenly froze. In her eyes, a black smoke appeared from nowhere, and suddenly enveloped the entire village entrance. Ow! Among them, the howl of a wolf could be heard faintly. "It's a man-eating demon wolf, run." In the smoke, there are many figures, but it seems that they can't rush out. Suddenly, a huge black wolf head appeared, biting half of the body in its mouth, and the green eyes stared at Yat. Wow! The little girl was knocked down by the panicked crowd, the food in the bamboo basket was scattered all over the floor, and she burst into tears. Hee, virgins are the best. The huge wolf head looked at Yat and swooped down suddenly. Evildoer! Just as the wolf kiss was about to come, a majestic shout suddenly sounded between heaven and earth. A white light surged forward and turned into a flying sword, blocking the attack of the wolf head. "Deist who, dare to stop me?" The demon wolf roared and asked. "Pandeo Fang Xian, come here to slay demons and eliminate demons." A clear and jade-like voice emerged, shaking the four fields. "You are, Fang Xian Deist." The monster wolf screamed, turned around and ran. The black fog quickly dissipated, revealing the surviving villagers. A big man stepped forward quickly and hugged Arya. "Come on." Arya leaned on her father's shoulders and saw the sword light flying vertically and horizontally, catching up with the escaping black chi, and with just a twist, she chopped off a huge wolf's head. The black energy dissipated, revealing the corpse of a giant wolf, and the blood quickly gathered into a ball. "Father, the immortal killed the wolf demon." Arya let out a cheering sound. "What?" The big man who was running wildly turned his head and saw this scene, his eyes glared like copper bells. Tribulation power at 200. Fang Xian withdrew his hand indifferently and looked at the attribute column. "This also has robbery power?" "No. I took back its robbery seed, although it was harvested in advance, it can be seen from the robbery power that the sin is really not small." Since turning into a white ape, Fang Xian has been non-stop, turning into a fairy vest, just to get ahead of the monster, and this evil monster ended up The great sage of the white ape is the supreme being of the monster race. If you want to kill a monster, you have to find a reason. But immortals don't need it. Monsters eat people, people kill monsters. What other reasons do they need? If the white ape kills the demon wolf, even if the monster underneath doesn't say anything, it will be detached, but if it is killed by external forces, it can only be considered bad, and no one can speak. Fang Xian glanced at the small village and left without saying anything. The demon wolf has been dealt with, and next, it's the monkey. Thinking of this, Fang Xian couldn't help but feel a little strange. That monkey demon is not disobedient to dispatch, but his heart is a little too wild, or in other words, too eager for quick success. The way of robbing demons is already the best way in this world, but it is necessary to deceive incense and cultivate the way of the gods. The divine Dao in this world has so many restrictions and constraints that it is simply uncomfortable for oneself. But, it's not necessarily incompatible. Since I have established Fang Xian Dao, it is time to gather a group of gods and help them. Of course, this world is not only difficult to become a god, but it is even more difficult to intervene in the world after becoming a god, and it is also a trouble. This is a way of thinking, which can be handed over to the demon clan who are interested in this. Fang Xian has already determined the future of the monkey demon, so if he wants to become a god, he will be a mudwood embryo. At this moment, a green magic weapon flashed on his waist, and a bouldering voice came out, "Master, besides the mountain gate, someone from the imperial court has come." Time moved forward a little. Beijing. My son. In the imperial city, the great Zhou emperor was saddened, and a mouthful of blood was sprayed onto the information in front of him. The other eunuchs knelt down one after another, not daring to say a word. After all, the death of the son is not comparable to ordinary blows, any relief is funny. If they open their mouths, the emperor might let them try to die a son too. Well, the eunuch may not have a son, so maybe he will kill the whole family. Your Majesty, Prime Minister Wei Zhou asks to see you. At this time, a eunuch came in bravely. Xian. The emperor had just wiped the corners of his mouth with a bright yellow silk cloth when he said solemnly. It didn't take long for an old man in a red-purple uniform to come in, not looking sideways. Even if the little eunuch went down with a copper basin and a blood-stained silk cloth, it didn't attract his attention at all. Please, Your Majesty, take care of the dragon body. Wei Zhu was different from ordinary eunuchs. After he knelt down, he persuaded, now the situation in Dingzhou is corrupt, and there is no need for His Majesty to preside over. Monster clan, I will never share the sky with them. Emperor Dezhou gritted his teeth, his eyes were blood red, he really liked that son. In the Battle of Zhenyang Mansion, 20,000 capital camps and 30,000 prefecture soldiers were nearly wiped out, and Dingzhou's troops were completely empty. Wei Zhu said in a straightforward manner, the rest of the prefectures, hearing about this great defeat, are also panic-stricken. This failure is all because of monsters, manipulating birds, throwing stones from high altitudes. This method of warfare has no solution. Wei Zhu said, for today's plan, there is only more shields and helmets. In fact, when it comes to dealing with monsters, it is still Taoist priests who are good at it, but he is not going to talk about this. White Ape Demon Saint, it is said to be the spiritual pet of Taoist Fang Xian. Emperor Dezhou spat out blood, felt his chest relaxed a little, and regained some spirit, so he couldn't help pondering, since this monster was released by him, he should naturally clean it up, but he can order someone from the prefecture to tell him that if we can get rid of the monster, I named him a national teacher. His Majesty. Wei Zhu was startled, and just wanted to persuade him, when he saw the emperor's eyes swept coldly, his heart suddenly became cold, he didn't dare to say anything, and left. The Lord of Reincarnation. Author, Wen Xiaogong. Chapter 232. Climb Xianshan. Fang Xiandao main altar. Meet master. Boulder and Tung he's about and stood at the door, and when they saw Fang Xian coming, they couldn't help showing a sincere feeling of relaxation on their faces. Even if the imperial court is defeated, even if the demon clan is arrogant, even if the anti-king army is imminent, as long as there is this real immortal, everything will not be a problem. It's a trivial matter, and you panic when you see it. What's the etiquette? Fang Xian glanced at it and couldn't help but smile. Master said it is true, but this is also the opportunity of the grand way. The state and the state ministers have come, instead of the court's promise. If the demon clan can be pacified, then the master can be made the national teacher, and our immortal way will lead the world's daemon. Boulder sighed and answered honestly. Haha, can the words of the imperial court be trusted? The government has to cross the river and demolish the bridge, even before the river is crossed. Is it instinctive? Fang Xian shook his head. You actually believe it? Bo Shizi and Tong Jizi looked at each other and could only smile bitterly. Even if they build the foundation with calamity power and follow the way of the sergeant, they are no longer restricted by the dragon energy, but the psychological disadvantage cannot be changed for a while. The way of an alchemist lies in becoming immortal and unhurried. The dynasties on earth, the changing circumstances, what do you have to do with me? Fang Xian glanced at the many salted egg apprentices, and said with a bit of sympathy, but this time is different. The monsters are ferocious, and they want to take over the world of my human race. Then it is not a matter of one family and one country, but a matter of all races. This time, I went down the mountain to kill a few monsters who made trouble. The demon wolf has already been killed by me, and it. When he flicked his sleeves, a ghost appeared, turning into a black horse monkey, scratching his ears and scratching his cheeks. Shangxian, spare your life, Shangxian, spare your life. Ordinary people die when they die, and they can't even be ghosts. But this black horse monkey is a monster. Fang Xian deliberately tried it, but luckily kept its spirit. Is this the monkey monster that gathers the incense? No. It's the soul. This state is really strange. Tung Jizi's eyes flashed, and he looked up and down the black horse monkey, and couldn't help but be amazed. You monkey, can you hate me for destroying your body? Fang Xian asked calmly. Don't dare, don't dare. The black horse monkey even said that he didn't dare, and felt even more strange in his heart. How did this immortal find its lair accurately? It doesn't know that Fang Xian is the white ape demon saint, and he knows the monster cave mansion very well. It was sold by its own ancestors. You're not that demon wolf, you didn't kill too many people, otherwise the seat would have destroyed you both physically and mentally. Fang Xian snorted coldly. Now that you have lost your physical body, there is no hope of robbing demons, so you may be willing to accept the main decree of this Tao and change to the divine way. The monkey is willing, the monkey is willing. The black horse monkey immediately kowtowed, as it did when he knelt in front of the white ape demon saint that day. Fang Xian couldn't help but feel a little tired when she saw it, but she still nodded reluctantly, her fingers swiping in the air, forming a restriction. This prohibition is like a dragon and a phoenix seal, and it is like a cloud book. The light in the center is on and off, and it is distorted and picturesque, revealing a line of words, climb the position of the god of the fairy mountain. In fact, this is not the decree of the conferred gods, but a ban on the soul of the gods. At this time, without raising his eyebrows, he shouted, since you have no name, I will pick one for you and call it Ho Jing Kong. Why don't you release your mind quickly and accept this decree? The black horse monkey, no, Ho Jing Kong gritted his teeth and took the initiative to let go of his mind, allowing this restriction to fall into his body. With a flash of light, this prohibition disappeared without a trace. Very good, you go to practice. This Taoist master will let the disciples shape the golden temple for you and gather the incense. Fang Xian took Ho Jing Kong away with a flick of his sleeves. At this time, he looked at the disciples who were dumbfounded. This is, to confer a god on behalf of the heavens. Boulder rubbed his eyes and asked. Although there are still divine Dao in this world, but due to the influence of Zhuishanditang, there are also many restrictions. Like this monkey, it is very rare to die without a lot of foundation. After all, it is a robbery demon, and its soul is different from ordinary people, and it is more tenacious. Maybe it can explore a new way of Shinto. Fang Xian explained with a smile. Besides, you go to prepare a mountain temple and gather a wave of incense for it. Follow the law. Bo Shizi bowed first, and then excitedly said, if my immortal Tao can consecrate the gods in one word, it will undoubtedly encourage other disciples. My Tao will be prosperous. No matter how confident he is, he doesn't think Fang Xiandao can make everyone immortal. Death and the gods, sheltering one side, may be the lifelong pursuit of some cultivators. The emperor has the right to seal the gods, so his influence in this world is huge and almost unbelievable. Fang Xian's move is to cut a piece of fat on the cord. After dismissing his apprentice, he climbed the highest Fixiantai in Fang Xiandao alone, looked at the foggy scenery of Yunqian Mountain, and secretly complained in his heart, it's too tiring for one person to play two roles and rush to the field in two places. Well, it's only in one state. If you wait until the future, it will be even more troublesome. Although it was troublesome, Fang Xian did not think of a solution. That is to be promoted to the third level of alchemist as soon as possible, Yinqian realm. Although the Yin god is a grade lower than the Yuan Shen, the alchemist Yinqian is not the Yuan Shen in the world of immortal cultivation. Once it leaves that world, it will almost become waste, but it can be used in all worlds. Yin Shen Yuanshen true spirit, is a level that is constantly being promoted. Unfortunately, what I have certified in the world of cultivating immortals is not Deluo Yuan Shen, otherwise I wouldn't be restrained everywhere in the strange world. As long as you get the Deluo Yinshen and cooperate with the fourth transformation of the 9 transformations of the Gangsha, Yushin Yuki, you can fly to extinction, and it is not troublesome to play back and forth. Thinking of this, Fang Xian couldn't help but glance at the attribute column. Well, the imperial army was defeated, a state was corrupted, and the world was in turmoil. As the source of Taoism, the calamity power I harvested is extremely rich. I can completely break through. Fang Xian's thoughts lightly touched the attribute bar. His mind was empty and he entered a state of epiphany. Suddenly, Fang Xian's body froze, his consciousness seemed to fall from the sky. Puff! A somewhat illusory figure walked out of him, as if the wind would dissipate. Yin God accomplished. Sure enough, the experiment done with Ho Jing Kong before is not wrong. The third level of the alchemist is the yin spirit out of body. It's just that the yin god at this time is still very fragile and can't stand the wind and the sun. So it must be wrapped with a shell, membrane, or qi. This is the profound meaning of the 9 transformation of Gangsha's middle-ranking god's qi, assisting the yin god, making it stronger, better able to control all qi, and cast spells. The alchemist level is the main body, and the alchemy is the auxiliary. Haha, I understand. Fang Xian's yin god let out a hearty laugh. For a time, the wind and clouds on Fixiantai were surging, and there was a gathering of airflow.